everyone. Welcome to a very special vlog, or vlog as it were. I'm not going to talk much about game shows. There might be a little mention here and there, but this is a vlog that I've wanted to do for a little while now, and it involves another hobby of mine, and that is video games. And more recently, I've gotten into imports, mainly because I recently picked up this bad boy up, and that is the Retron 5. Let me pardon. There we go. There we go. Right here. Now, what this thing does, it plays NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis games, also Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games, but it also plays Famicom, Super Famicom, Sega Mega Drive games, which was called in Japan, and also Japanese Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games. And there's also an adapter for it, which I own, which allows you to play Master System, Game Gear, and Sega card games, which was the card thing for the Master System, which I don't have. I don't have any of those games. But the main thing I want to focus on is the Super Famicom. Because the prices for Super Nintendo games have been going through the roof lately. And they have been for the past couple of years. So I've been buying up Super Famicom games. Some of them American Japanese versions of games we got here in the States. And others are really good RPGs that never made it over here. And that's why the Retron 5 really comes into play, because it allows you to put patches on those games where you can play them translated. And you can play these games on a regular Super Nintendo, but they won't fit, because you gotta have certain plastic tabs pulled out. Like, for example, I have my regular Super Nintendo right here. I use this for streaming. I've used this for Smash TV, and I'm using it for Dr. Mario Super Nintendo. But inside here, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but right around here, where my finger is, there's plastic tabs that prevent the use of Super Famicom games in the Super Nintendo. You can pull those out, but you kind of have to be careful, because you can bork your console, even though it is just hardened plastic. But one wrong move and it ruins your pin connectors. So that stays where it is, but I've been buying quite a few games. I think I've got about somewhere in the neighborhood of 20. A nice little collection. And one of the games that I kind of always bought it for was the Fire Emblem series, and this is the third game in the Fire Emblem series. Masoku no Dazu, I think, is the name of it. I could be wrong about this. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But this one has a patch for it, has a translated patch, and I've been getting into a lot of tactical RPGs as of late, because I loved playing Shining Force, and I wanted to find games similar to Shining Force, and the Fire Emblem series is the most closest representation of that for Nintendo consoles. And in the category of buying games that are expensive for the US versions, but are more cost acceptive, Actrazer. Now, the Japanese version is a lot harder than the one that we got here in the States. The Super Nintendo version was nerfed a bit, and there is a translation patch for the Japanese version of Actrazer, because you're going to need text for the city building levels. And speaking of cost prohibitive, dear lord, Rockman 7, otherwise known as Mega Man 7, you could find this game for roughly $20 to $30. But if you want the American version, the NTSC version, you're going to be paying upwards of $200 to $300 for it. And the beauty part about Rockman 7 is not much text needs to be translated, although there is a patch for it because of more included dialogue between Mega Man and Otto and Roll and Dr. Light. Then you also have games that got released earlier and are more plentiful than they are here in the States, and that's where Space Invaders comes into play. Taito released this in Japan in 1994. We didn't get it until around 1996. So the original cartridge for that is a little hard to come by. And then you have puzzle games that were over in Japan we didn't get in the States, like Super Tetris 2 and Bombliss. Now, Tetris 2 plays a lot like the original Tetris, but this one isn't made by Nintendo, it's made by Bulletproof Software. They also did Yoshi's Cookie. Bombliss is a variant of Tetris where you have to combine, in some of the tetrads, there's red circles. Use those to create bombs. Those are little bombs. If you put 4 of them in a square, they make a bigger bomb. And the goal is to clear the stage where there's nothing left. And you have to do it in about 100 pieces. Then you have games that, will probably never be translated, and that's Crayola, Shinjan, these games. Now, I know they were aired here. They just aired some of them for Toonami. So I'm a little bit shocked some of these games did not get translated. I kind of figure somebody would be up to the task. And then we have RPGs. There are a ton of them. I'm going to go through my entire collection. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 has a great translation patch for it. And this is a really cheap way to get the second game. It's graphically improved. Also, they've fixed some of the things that made Dragon Quest 1 a real awful grind. Like, it's much easier to get money. So you can get the better equipment earlier on, because you could plow through the game in about 2 hours. And then Dragon Quest 2 is a fun game. It's just also a cost-prohibitive game. It's getting up there in price. It's now going for about $30, $40. So finding that, and you're playing an improved version on it, is always good. Then you have games that never got released. Final Fantasy V, for example, great translation patch for it. Original version released for the Super Famicom, didn't get released in the States, although there were ports of it for PlayStation and the Game Boy Advance, which I do own. But I always wanted to play the original. Then we have games that just never made it over here, don't have a translation patch, like Farlin Story, which I bought because of I'm on a tactical RPG kick, and Farlin Story is part of it. I just wish there was a translation for it. Then we have, I'm a big fan of wrestling games, so there's Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3. I wish I could get Super Fire Pro Wrestling X, but that seems to be going for quite a bit of money nowadays because it's a Suda 51 experience, especially with the final story. But Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3 is always fun. Then you have Super Street Fighter 2. The American cart's going for about $20, $30 nowadays, so I got this years ago for $5. The thing about this version, different names for certain characters, like Balrog is Bison, Bison is Vega, Vega is Balrog. So yeah, it is weird. Although I will say that there's another difference to this is the music. Some music was changed for the American release. Guile's theme, for example, is different. Guile's theme is the same as it ever was on this cartridge, just an improved version of it. Then we have a box copy of an RPG that was released here, but is much cheaper here, and I got it box complete, and that is Lennis. Lennis, you would know here as Paladins Quest. So Lennis 2, the sequel to Paladins Quest, did not come over here to the States. So if you can find a copy of Lennis 2, that's real good to come by. I'm hoping that somebody will retranslate Paladins Quest and use Lennis. And then we have another game that didn't come here in the States, doesn't have a translation patch. I hope it gets it soon. Last Battle, another good RPG. Kind of blowing through these. Far East of Eden 0. Now, here's something that I want to, call to people. Always price check stuff. Like, if you go to a store, like, for example, if I'll show you right here, I paid $10 for this one, and I paid this about a week or so ago. I went to another store locally, Super Smash Games. It's the same place where I bought Lennis and Last Battle last week. They had this for $6. And this store had it for $10. So if you want to buy locally, do price check. Call around, stuff like that. Then we have a great RPG that never made it to the States, Bahama Lagoon. There is a translation patch for it. It is well worth your time. Then we have Romancing Saga 2. It has a sort of translation patch. You can still play it. Just haven't really gotten around to it. Then here is Super Chinese World 2. It is Little Ninja Brothers or Super Ninja Boy, whatever it came out here for the Super Nintendo. The first one came out here. The rest didn't. There are 3 of them. And it's a really fun experience. I'll save these two. I already talked about the first one, but I'll talk. Mega Man Soccer is another one that it's really easy to get the Super Famicom version rather than the American version. And the Super Nintendo version, I think, is going for like $60 now. And you can find this for about $18 to $20. That's why I paid for it. Fatal Fury Special, any of the fighting games, you could find for a lot cheaper than the American version. Fatal Fury Special, I think, is going for like $20 to $30 for the American cart. This is going for about $10. So if story is not much your bag, then you'll be fine to go off this. Then we have Dragon Quest VI, which I don't think got a re-release for the longest time, but there is a great translation patch for this, and I've had a blast playing with it. And now here's a game that I am very happy to have, Torneko. This is the first Torneko game, Torneko Magic Dungeon. It is just a wonderful experience. Now, I will say that Torneko The Last Hope for the PlayStation is a much better version of it, mainly because when you enter the dungeon, you don't enter into a first pit trap. I mean, at first walk, you run into a trap. And you need to find a weapon quick in the Super Nintendo version. Otherwise, you're going to get rocked. But anyway, that is my little dive into Super Famicom games. I have a couple more coming. Like, I have Ogre Battle coming. A box complete Ogre Battle. I also have some Famicom games coming, so I'll do a little addendum for Famicom games. And I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I might be doing more videos on this channel about some Famicom games, Super Famicom games, and other video games that I enjoy playing. There will be home games on some game show games from the States that I will be doing. and I'm going to be plowing through a lot of home game videos over the next couple of weeks just to get those situated, probably for the year. So while I might be physically changing throughout the year, when you see a home game video, you could tell that I've recorded a bunch of them in one go. And some will be board games, some will be video games. Just to let you know that those will be recorded well in advance. But I'd like to thank everybody for watching this nice little Wednesday vlog where I didn't have to talk about what's going on in the game show world, but don't worry, those vlogs will be coming back. I just wanted to take a break. There will be a Games of Canada coming up for May 1st, and I think you will recognize this show because it is a Quebecois version of an American show, and I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, that'll do it for me. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, and if you liked what you saw for this, and if you have a nice collection of Famicom, Super Famicom games, thumbs up the video, leave a comment on what games you have or what you think about Super Famicom games. Subscribe to this channel if you want more goodness of varying philosophies and varieties. And if you want the weekend game show videos day in advance, patreon.com/gameshowgumbo is the way to go. Thanks, and have a nice day. Bye for now.